Hello and welcome to the Relationship Breakthrough Show from Aligned with Love. I'm Matt.
And I am Rebecca. This is the place for people to have a magical, loving, intimate relationship.
Thanks for joining us. Now let's get started.
Today I got the excitement to interview Arabella Paul. She's a divorce coach, and I'm very curious to see what she says to my questions, because many women and men as well, many people are so scared of going through divorce, and because of the ignorance of what that would look like, they actually settle for less and become less. But from my point of view, once we get very clear on what the divorce roadmap looks like, this is just the best, the perfect position to actually work on your relationship if you have any hope, because you put the relationship on the line when you don't have fear of the divorce roadmap. So she's going to tell us all about. So welcome, Arabella.
Hello, thank you, Rebecca.
You're welcome. I'm excited to know more about what you do, how you came to get to be a divorce coach, and what is it that you do specifically?
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. A good question. So first of all, really, what is a divorce coach?
Yeah.
So the way I see it is I am your divorce best friend. So I support you as a client, both emotionally and practically, because it can be a roller coaster of emotions during separation and divorce. And so I can help people navigate heartbreak, infidelity, managing toxic dynamics, also co-parenting challenges, and rediscovering who you are when you're on the other side. And because I have an impartial and objective viewpoint, I can bring clarity, calm, and strategic thinking into what can feel like a completely chaotic moment or few months, years. And working with a coach ultimately saves you money because you don't spend long hours on the phone pouring your heart out to your solicitor at great expense. And you were also asking me how I ended up working as a divorce coach. Well, I've had a few careers. I started off in investment banking in the city. I worked on the trading floor. I then had 12 years as a full-time mother, raising my children. Then after a very painful divorce myself in 2020, that was triggered by infidelity, I started on a new career then doing something completely different, headhunting. But when that came to an end at the beginning of last year, I decided to retrain as a coach. And because I've been through this divorce in 2020 and realized that when I was going through it, I didn't really know all the things I needed to know at the time. And actually having a coach by my side would have been a really sensible option, but also a very supportive one as well. So I decided to do some professional training as a coach and niching in separation, breakup and divorce, and combining that with my life experience as well, having been through divorce. And that's how I came to do what I do now.
Wow, that sounds amazing. I mean, I love what you're saying, that because you've been there,
Yeah.
you can help people who are in that situation. I always say your personal experience is actually your certificates. Sometimes people ask us, oh, what are your credentials? What are your certificates? And definitely, I always say, look at our testimonials. These are our credentials. But actually, our personal experience, like you're saying, is such a massive credential, because
Yeah.
in there, you can feel your clients. You know exactly what they're going through, and you can hold their hands.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I I was also very wowed by what you said at the beginning, that being a divorce coach has actually taught you a lot of things that you didn't know, and now you can help your clients. So,
Yeah.
what would your biggest insights from your divorce journey?
So I think a lot of people immediately talk to their friends and family um, about what they're going through, and they turn to those people as well for solicitor recommendations. And perhaps, like me, just jump on the first solicitor they speak to. Now, one thing I'd really recommend is speaking to probably at least five, a handful of solicitors. I have a list, a little black book that I share with my clients. And those are people that I have cultivated relationships with over the years. They're top rated in their field. Then that doesn't mean they're the most expensive lawyers, by the way. So what I would really recommend is speaking to at least five, and they normally give you probably up to half an hour of their time, telling you how they could help you, giving you a little bit of advice. But by doing that, number one, you can sort of ask the same questions to each of them. And you can work out if they're a good personality fit, because they need to be right for you, because this journey could take a while. You don't know when you start how long the process could actually take, 'cause it all depends. It's very dependent on your relationship, your ex-partner, the different things going on, the different dynamics. So the personality fit's really important. Also, you want to be questioning them about their experience. So let's say you are in an emotionally abusive relationship. You want to know that your solicitor has vast experience in that area and knows how to handle somebody like your ex-partner, because
Yeah.
there's a certain way and a certain language and a certain way of doing things, and you need someone with that experience in your corner. So that's definitely one thing I would recommend straight away. I just picked the first solicitor that someone told me about. Um,
Yeah, makes sense.
yeah. Also, I think one of the biggest mistakes people make when they're heading towards divorce is reacting emotionally without really thinking strategically. And of course, that is totally understandable, because you are in this emotional whirlpool, whether it's you that's decided the relationship's over or whether it's come at you by surprise. There's still a lot of emotions going around and a lot of grief. So a divorce, you really follow the grief cycle, because it's the second most traumatic life event after the death of a loved one. So it's a big deal. It impacts so many parts of your life, whether it's mothering or parenting. Sorry, I didn't mean to choose the mother over the father. Parenting
Yeah.
children, functioning in daily life, your job, showing up to work. So you also, and what's dear to my heart, and I go into employers to speak to them about how to support their employees, but it's really important that your employer can support you and understands and makes allowances for when you're having really bad days, or you need to go on a call with your solicitor, or you even need a day in court. There needs to be that supportive network. I know I'm rambling a bit, I'm sorry. The other thing I would say is having your support team in place, again, is hugely important. And in your support team, which I call a divorce core circle, I would put in obviously a solicitor, mediator perhaps, because sometimes divorces can be done only through mediation. It all depends, but mediation is a really good point to start at. Also, a divorce coach, because like I say, that can that can save you money, because you're not spending as much time talking to the solicitor about their.
That's a great point, Arabella. This is the thing that made me feel wow at the beginning, how much money you can save by
Mm,
having a divorce coach
yeah.
rather than just the lawyer. And I
Yes.
have witnessed that with some
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, because with so many things, there are various forms you need to be familiar with. There's one in particular called Form E, but there's things like, putting together your expenditure, your needs, lots of different bits and pieces, working out what's right for your children, weighing up the options, all those things. If you spent that time on the phone with your solicitor, um, that would be enormously expensive. And a lot of people do that because they don't realize there's another option. But if you have a divorce coach who is at least half the price, if not more, then that is, quite incredible because the amount of money you're saving there. And also, if you're talking about your emotions to your solicitor, yes, they're going to be very empathetic. However, they can't help you. They haven't got the tools to give you to emotionally regulate yourself. So they'll listen to you, but an hour later, you might not be any further down the line. This won't help your legal process. And you've just forked out, I don't know, £600 for the
Exactly.
solicitor being sympathetic.
Yeah, that's so right. Wow. Yeah. And I guess they won't tell you stop. They will tell you keep going.
Yeah, I mean,
Calm down.
yeah, the lovely thing about family solicitors, or the ones I have met and the ones I like and interact with, is of course, if someone's in tears and they'll listen to them and they'll help as much as possible, but they will be mindful that the clock is ticking. The lawyers that I would put forward are cost conscious. They don't want you to be racking up large bills with them, unnecessary bills with them. Of course, if you'll need to pay for their advice, their legal advice, and that is important. But if it's something they can't really help you with, and if it's something that's not relevant to the divorce process, then a good solicitor will gently say to you, oh my goodness, that sounds horrific. I'm really sorry, I can't help you with that. And hopefully they'll say, but I do know someone who can.
That's amazing. Exactly. That is such a great support, to be honest. If a lawyer actually recommends a divorce coach, rather than because you are more specialized in helping people to navigate the situation rather than just on the legal thing, and the lawyers are the masters of the legal situation. So yeah, like everybody does what they are best at.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's actually more cost efficient. I get it. Yeah, exactly. It's like when my clients come to me and they start telling me how they're feeling and all the little details of the relationship situation, and I'm like, I'm gonna charge you for this.
Yeah.
Go to tell a friend, go to a counselor, they're very cheap. But if you want to transform this problem, how can I help you? What's the thing that you want to work on? So I love what you're saying, because you're specialized in navigating the divorce, and the lawyer is specialized in actually actioning the divorce. So
Yeah. And just now you mentioned therapy. And I think a lot of people also are probably confused. What's the difference between a coach and a therapist? Why would I use a coach? Why would I use a therapist? How does that work in the divorce process? So the way I see it is therapy, hugely important, but a lot of therapy is healing past trauma, past mistakes, and looking back into the past as well as the present. But what coaching is about is moving people forward, focusing on the present and the future. And the emotions I can deal with and help you with are the emotions around divorce. I can't help you if you've got a awful issue with your mother from when you were 5 years old. Your therapist can help with that. I can help you if you're feeling enormous guilt around leaving a relationship that seemingly was a good one, but it wasn't fulfilling you. I can help you with those feelings of overwhelm, where to start with divorce, what do I do? Panic attacks. I can help with all those kind of things, but they're divorce related, and they're the sort of the emotions you get in the present, if that makes sense. So there is actually a place for a therapist and a divorce coach and a solicitor. It might sound like, there's a lot of people there, but what's more important than anything else is that you are in the right place, you're strong enough to go through this. You need to be fighting fit and to have the support team around you, because that will make it a very different experience. And again, it probably won't take as long as it would have done if you hadn't had all that support.
that's right. Yeah, totally. I get it. I have seen, Arabella, how people very closely, I've seen how people, I'm not going to name anyone, but going through divorce, they have to change lawyers all the time and start again. And that is costing money.
Yeah.
And it's just what was meant to take 6 months, it ends up taking 6 years.
Yeah. And then every month you're getting billed by the solicitor. I mean, it's a hugely expensive process. It can be a hugely expensive process. But yes, if you sort of work strategically, helping with your emotions you're feeling, using a coach, it's can be cheaper than it would have been.
That's right. Wow. So I guess you've mentioned already some of the biggest mistakes that people make towards heading towards divorce. And that was great because that's gonna save people time, money, paying misery. So what does a successful divorce look like to you, both legally and emotionally? Because you mentioned the therapy side as well and the coaching side as well.
Yes, yeah. So a successful divorce, I mentioned having your core circle around you. That's really important.
Yeah.
I think for me, specifically the children, if there are children in the relationship, I would say a successful divorce is moving forward with as much dignity as you can muster, because sometimes that's really hard. And with your children at the forefront of every decision. So, what research shows is it's not the divorce that damages the children, it's the conflict. And that could be conflict within a relationship that stays together, or that could be conflict within a uncoupling, a divorce, a relationship breakdown. And it's really hard. And it can be really hard, especially when one of the partners is being particularly difficult or unreasonable, or there's a lot of bad feeling between you. It's really hard to find the strength sometimes to be the bigger person. But I think your children model your behavior. And if you can model the right kind of behavior and handle certain situations, then they will lead by example. So that for me is what a really successful divorce looks like. And going back to the core circle, and from a legal point of view, and I mentioned talking to a handful of lawyers, really carefully choosing who you want to work with, but having also a financial advisor or financial planner within that team, because you need to often really plan ahead on how much you can live on. Sometimes you need a pensions expert about dividing pensions. And also in that team, I'd have an exercise buddy, because exercise is hugely important for feeling good, feeling fit, being healthy. It's a great way to jump out of emotion or unfocus on something. So if you're really in the moment of feeling very sad and about the whole situation, even just jumping up and doing 5 or 10 star jumps can snap you out of that for the moment. It changes your focus. It's one of the modalities. It's an NLP thing, right?
Yeah.
So yes, so successful divorces, I think, being emotionally regulated, behaving with dignity, putting the children at the forefront of every decision.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, that makes sense. I was going to ask you, how do you balance the practical and emotional aspects of the coaching through divorce?
Yeah,
So
because
I guess
yeah.
the doing physical exercise is one of those.
Yeah. So when I'm talking to clients, and we have really in each session there's emotional and practical things going on. So you might start with tears, but at the end of the session, you've got a to-do list. And also that's what coaching is about. I talked about moving forward. So at the end of every session, there's an action plan or a to-do list, and it's not unmanageable. It's small bite-sized chunks so that people aren't overwhelmed. And on that to-do list could be a variety of things. It could be go out and buy, I don't know, a new outfit to make you feel better. It could be join that exercise class that you always meant to do but didn't. But it could be go and work out. Go onto Rightmove and work out what you could buy if you had a certain amount of money, or contact 5 solicitors, get that in the diary. So they're manageable. They're things you can do between now and the next session. So on one foot, we've got the emotional stuff. I listen and obviously deeply sympathetic to all the tears. It's good to let your emotions out. We talk about, how someone's feeling. We talk about the relationship right from the beginning to where it ended. So right from falling in love and how they met to the end, talking about the story, listening. I listen for repeating patterns, limiting beliefs, unconscious behaviors. And then we start to work on that and we start to piece it all together and we come up with a plan. And I think I always feel when there's a plan in place, you feel more empowered and more positive about the future, because I think one of the scariest things is the unknown.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and one of my things is creating a future that someone is excited about so they can move forward with positivity.
That sounds good. That's right. Is this like some activities that they can do to move forward, to ground themselves, to feel calmer?
Yes, definitely. I draw on a mix of techniques. If someone's anxious, we could use some breath work, a box technique. If someone needs to just bring themselves into the present straight away, I do some fingertip touching. It's something I learned called a PQ rep. I did a course on positive intelligence, how to shift your mind to think more positively. And then that's just rubbing and feeling the sensation of your fingertips together and on the palm of your hand, and doing that for at least 10 seconds, but longer if possible, up to 2 minutes. And that just brings you back into the moment and centers you again. What else? If it's someone who's lacking self-confidence and they're about to go into something like a mediation meeting, then we talk about things they could do for dressing to impress or dressing for success, feeling good, listening to empowering songs on the way in, standing tall posture. There's a lot of small things you can do that make quite a difference to the overall feeling and confidence of that person. And then I also like quite a lot of visual tools. I like checklists, I like flow guides, emotional maps, anything that brings clarity. And I know you and I talked on our earlier podcast about clarity. And that's huge. And especially when someone feels overwhelmed, that makes such a difference. And when your nervous system feels deregulated, logic goes out of the window. So to get them back to that calm first and then into action is hugely important.
I love it. Yes, that makes total sense, Arabella, because when we feel overwhelmed, panicky, like you said, we just don't think. Literally, our rational brain doesn't work. We're all about emotions flooding all our brain, and we just don't make sense of things. We may see things that they are not there, and like you said, we live in the past, so you bring them to the present.
Yes.
That makes sense. Yeah. Sometimes we can be in denial. Do you find that your clients are still in denial? Like, or maybe like they still have hope, or like this is not happening, or maybe he will change his mind or she will change her mind. Do you find that?
Yes, not across the board, but yes, in many cases that is what happens. Denial. That's actually, if you look at the life cycle of grief, one of the stages is denial. The very last stage is acceptance. So yes, there's always that denial, and also people think this sort of limiting belief, and if I change, then maybe he'll come back if I do something differently. And it's really about empowering them to be the best version of themselves and realize that that person might not be the right person for them if they want you to change, or if you feel you need to change for someone. If it's something that doesn't necessarily need to be changed. I mean, if you're somebody, I suppose, that can't help but lie all the time, then I understand why that might need to improve. But if it's you're saying, oh, well, maybe I should lose weight, or maybe I should I don't know, be more outgoing, or you're trying to change your inner self, then that's not going to work. And we work on so many aspects like that too.
I like that. That makes sense. Yes. Um, I was actually thinking about the children now. You mentioned it before. So what advice do you have for co-parenting effectively after a divorce? Like what should people avoid so they don't mess up their kids? Tit for tat, they use the children as the messenger. Tell this to your father, or your mother did that to me, blah, blah, blah. How do we do about, or, so they are not at the crosshairs of divorce.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that is so important. So one of my favorite quotes is love your children more than you hate your ex. And that is so important because research shows that it's damaging for children if we badmouth our ex to them, because they think of themselves as half mum and half dad. So when you're doing that, they are internally thinking, oh, well, if I'm half of, I don't know, let's say the mother, if I'm half of mummy, but daddy's being so horrible about her, then maybe daddy doesn't love half of me. And you don't think that that's going on in their heads, but it is, because they're 50-50 of both of you, and it's in their DNA. And also the other thing is, within them is this inbuilt system of loving both parents equally, no matter what. So I think one of the things that parents don't realize is they think, oh, well, if I slag off or say, oh, but your father's this or your father's that, then that will mean the child will understand that they've got a really bad parent. And actually, what we've got to realize that they love that parent no matter what. So you are telling that child not to love something that feels so natural to them. And that really messes with their heads. I mean, that's very damaging. So put the kids, I think I said before, at the forefront of every decision, and really love your children more than you hate your ex.
That sounds good. Yeah. It's so hard, Arabella, because, like you said, whilst a parent is looking at that child, what I find a lot in therapy is that some parents don't want to recognize it, but that child is a reminder, is a constant reminder of the person that the parent chose, and it didn't turn out to be the same as the person that they thought they were. They just didn't. We don't know our partners like fully, They keep showing us new layers, new aspects of themselves, like we do to them. And one day we discover that that's not the type of partner that I wanted, but I actually chose that partner. And now this child is a reminder of the choice that I made.
Yeah.
And then they start hating the child or denying a part of the child, the part that belongs to the parent, to the partner, like you said. And that needs to be reconciled, because otherwise, good luck to the children. Yeah. It's great that you actually tackle this issue as well. So important.
Yeah.
So how do you help people know whether divorce is really right for them, rather than working to fix things?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Well, the first thing I do is I ask people to go away and give it their best shot for at least 3 months. And then if they feel exactly the same way, come back to me, because I'm not pushing people down the road of divorce if it's not right for them. So they have to have the no regrets feeling, because you don't want to go into a divorce and halfway through think, oh, have I done the right thing? You need to be pretty sure. It's a big thing. It's a big process. It's really hard. But yeah, you have to be really sure. So that's first of all, and sending them to somebody like you is exactly what I would love to do. And they can then work out if it's a relationship they can fix or they can't. And so if they have come to my door again and they decide it is the right thing for them, well, then we explore the relationship with honesty. We talk about what worked, what didn't work. And I ask powerful questions that help them access their own truth, because also I don't want them making the same mistakes in the future. Like we've discussed this before, with next relationships, they don't want to repeat the same patterns. So we break it all down, and so we go through that as well and help them make a decision that they can stand by. And clarity brings peace, as you know that too.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah. And confidence,
Yeah.
self-empowerment,
Yeah.
knowing where you stand. I love it. And how about when people go through divorce, and particularly if they've had infidelity or any traumatic experience like that, for example, how how do you help them to rebuild their sense of self-esteem, confidence, their identity, because they're gonna have to let go of the relationship that they thought they were gonna have forever. Maybe they're gonna have to let go of the dream and this ideal partner that they believed they were having, but until they realized they don't have it anymore. That's not the person that I chose. Or maybe they're gonna have to let go of the lifestyle that they had, and there's a lot of grief really here, and they need to let go of those things. And that means reinventing yourself. Who are you without your partner? Who are you outside of this relationship? Who are
Yeah.
you as a single parent? How can you make sense of all these things? Do you help people like this?
Yes, well, absolutely. And this rebuilding of confidence and identity obviously doesn't happen overnight. There's no magic pill, but there are quite a few starting points. And especially if people have been used to being one half of a couple, a lot of people are used to their exes making decisions and taking responsibility. So it's up to me to help my clients start taking responsibility themselves. And that will start by making a few of their own small decisions. So part of their action plan will be around decision making. We talk about introducing maybe some new clothes or a new look. We talked earlier about going to having a new haircut, perhaps, or maybe going a different color, maybe having your nails done, just giving you a bit more confidence if you feel good. Maybe they've been wanting to get fit and lose a bit of weight and haven't got round to it. Then we talk about how, what exercise looks like for them and what they enjoy doing. Do they go to do a Zumba class or join a gym, walking club? Do they just get out and move more and listen to some music? Whatever works for them. Also even things like moving things round in your home, repainting a wall. You're making those decisions, you're doing it on your terms, and it's slowly rebuilding some confidence and your own identity at the same time. And also surrounding yourself with people who make you feel good about yourself. That's hugely important as well.
That's really good. Yeah, your environment, the people that you are with, so key. That's right.
Yeah, definitely.
That's right. Yeah, as I guess, yeah, as we reinvent ourselves, a few people are gonna drop, not just our partner. Sometimes it happens. So, how about what would you say is the most important lesson that you've experienced in your business as a divorce coach that that you've thought, oh my God, and that has reshaped you the way you work with clients,
Yeah.
coach?
So what I have learned through so many clients and my own experience is often what seems like what and is the rock bottom can actually be the beginning of something brilliant. And I've seen people at their lowest, as you can imagine, broken, betrayed, completely lost, and they go on to create lives that they've never imagined. And that fuels everything I do. I love that. I'm not just helping people cope with divorce, I'm actually helping them rebuild, rediscover, and reimagine. And I love that. And personally, for me, on a personal note, I want people to understand how important it is when your partner, this is further down the line, ex-partner, meets somebody else. This has been in my own experience. How important it is to be open to allowing your child to love another adult. I think it's very freeing for your children for you to let them know that that's okay. Because if they're trying to hide those feelings, so they're, let's say, for example, my sons, they have a stepmother, and I allow them to love her, talk about her, and write her Mother's Day cards. And yes, that can seem and is painful, but I would hate it for them to keep that from me or to feel that they shouldn't and feel ashamed. I also feel that their love for you doesn't half. They have so much love, it just doubles because you'll always be their mother or their father. And you're just allowing them to love more people and to be loved by more people. And that's a lot to be grateful for. So I think you've got to open your mind to that. And it's pretty hard to start with, I guarantee that. But I think it's really important for the children.
That's right. I've definitely been having conversation with clients about this situation when their ex is actually introducing their children to the lover. That's a difficult pillow to swallow.
Yeah,
Oh,
it is hard. It really is hard. But you've got to, I mean, in almost everything I do, and even as a parent, just parenting my children in general, regardless of being a divorce coach, I always try and look at things through their eyes, through the eyes of my children, and put myself in their shoes and imagine what it's like. You know, my children are now 18 and 15. When we got divorced, they were 12 and 9. But, you know, imagine being 12, your world's upside down anyway, and, you know, you meet someone who you know you shouldn't necessarily like because they're your father's new partner, but actually they're kind of nice and you kind of do like them. But maybe you shouldn't, and maybe you should like stuff that feeling, and that's not healthy. So I allow them. I remember talking to them about it, and I remember my son said, "Oh, I know I'm not supposed to like her, but I do." And I said, "That's okay. Allow yourself to like her. That's fine."
I love it. That's amazing. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. At the end of the day, the children make their own distinctions. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said at the beginning, if you act with integrity and grace, everything falls into place, you know. If anyone else is not acting in the same way, your children are gonna make distinctions. And actions speak louder than words. So I love your approach.
Thank you.
Yeah. How about toxic dynamics? How do you deal with them? Like, what's your approach when someone is stuck in a toxic dynamic, toxic loop, or emotionally, like in an emotionally abusive dynamic with a partner that they're trying to get divorced, or the other person is trying to get divorced from them? And how do you deal with that?
Yeah. Well, often I get clients that come to me and they're talking about the situation, and what they don't realize is they are in an emotionally abusive situation. They just think they're walking on eggshells or even losing themselves. And I help them without naming it myself. I help them to realize what's going on. We look at patterns, power imbalances, and what healthy actually looks like. Because sometimes when you're in the middle of a relationship and you've been in that relationship for so many years, that becomes your normal. And so you often don't even realize that it's a non-healthy relationship. But I help them strengthen their sense of self. We learn boundary settings and also building up the support they need. And, you know, it's pretty scary, but it's also quite freeing. And once they have the clarity, then they also will have the toolbox to know how to deal with this emotionally abusive or toxic ex-partner. And there are ways to handle these situations. And yeah, it's definitely worth being aware of what's going on. They need to for their own sanity, I believe, as well as for everybody involved. But it needs to be handled in a certain way and in a safe way, because what I would like to point out that sometimes someone can be in an emotionally abusive environment, and when they decide that they want to leave that environment, the control is lost by the partner, and that can become the abuse can become worse. It's actually called something called post-separation abuse.
Uh-huh.
That's why it's so important to choose the right solicitor if this is a situation you might be in, because the solicitor knows exactly how to handle that type of dynamic and scenario. And you will feel more safe because of it. And there's ways and means of doing certain things.
I love this point, Arabella. I have seen someone getting divorced,
Yeah.
coming out of an abusive relationship where, because this person, this partner, the abused partner, is still embodying the same patterns that enabled the abused by the other partner.
Yeah.
Well, surprise, surprise, this person is not only has attracted an abusive partner, but now is attracting an abusive lawyer. I tell
Yeah.
you,
That's often the case. Yeah, absolutely.
I saw this.
Yeah.
And so this lawyer didn't do the job, charged the money, the date came, it wasn't done, calling, no one picks up. What the hell? Ugh.
Yeah.
Surprise, guys. What is it about us that we could do differently rather than trying to change what we can't change? The other
Well,
person.
exactly. Often, when a relationship is broken down in a controlling relationship, the perpetrator can't control their partner anymore, but what they can control, and this is very important when it comes to divorce, is they can control the finances and they can control the children, and they will do everything in their power to make things difficult for the partner they can no longer control. So you need to have the right systems in place, the right people around you, because that is tough, but having people with the experience of that in your corner is only going to be a huge advantage.
Oh my God. I'm thinking, yes, I've seen that one too. I am thinking of all those things that some of my clients have told me or that I have witnessed, and you coming up with all those things. It's so good to have a divorce coach to avoid those situations already because you've already been there.
Yes, absolutely. And I would like to point out, because I don't think I said this at the beginning, with regards to a divorce coach. So I don't provide legal advice. I don't provide financial advice. I signpost to people who do. So I will never try and contradict anything this divorce solicitor says. And often with the right solicitor, we work together as a team. And it's really quite good for a coach to be in a meeting with the client and the solicitor. I liken it to when you have some sort of illness, a serious illness, and you're going to see the consultant about a diagnosis or what can be done next. I think in those scenarios, you want to take someone with you because you only listen to half of what they're saying. And as a coach with my client, I can be taking notes, I can be listening. I can also, when we come out of the meeting, because I won't actually say anything in the meeting necessarily, but after the meeting, when the client would be like, "Oh my God, I didn't really take any of that in. Well, what did they say?" Then I say, "Well, actually, they said this, and this, and what that really means is this, and this is what we've got to work on. And this is." So instead of the client perhaps calling the solicitor up again and said, "God, sorry, I was in a really bad place when we had that meeting. Can we go over it again?" Which is very expensive and time consuming. If you take a coach into the meeting with you or a Zoom call or whatever, it's a three-way meeting.
Yeah.
The coach can dissect, pull out the important parts, the bits you need to action, and it's hugely invaluable. I wish I'd had that.
That's right. That's correct. Wow, that's a very good point. Yes, because we get overwhelmed, panic, and we just don't listen. We don't listen. We're not present. We just scared and grieving. Still, that's right.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, what's the most rewarding part of your job?
The rewarding part of my job is when you see someone, right at the beginning, and they're sort of a bit of a nervous wreck. They don't know where to start. They're terribly overwhelmed. They're nervous, scared of the future. And in fact, they're not looking forward to the future at all. They can't see that there will be any good from a future without their ex-partner. To see them flourish and turn into this beautiful butterfly. So that's actually why my logo has a butterfly on it. And that's why, because it's the caterpillar coming out and turning into a butterfly and flying off, beautiful, happy. That's how I like to see it. So when a client goes from that rock bottom to excited about their future and happy and everyone's okay in the end, it's gold.
I love it. That's right. That's the nugget that we're looking forward.
Yeah, definitely.
And you mentioned before, Arabella, NLP. What are the skills that are required for you to do the job that you do?
So through my coaching, I've been taught a variety of NLP techniques and CBT. And so as and when the moment arises, then I will give my clients various tools for them to use, and they can take these tools away with them. They can use them in any scenario. So I just pass over my knowledge that I've learnt, and in the hope that it will help them not only in the divorce process, but going through life. Because as you know, because I think you practice NLP as well, that I mean, they're amazing, amazing things to know about, to take you through life and to help you in so many ways.
Ah, that's right. Amazing. Yes, exactly. You can apply that to everything, not just the divorce process. I've loved all this, Arabella. Thank you so much. Do you think, is there any question that I'm missing out that you think I should ask you? People should know, oh, I forgot about this. Or any
Nothing springs to mind at the moment. The only thing I'll say is, for more information, you can find me.
How can people get more about what you do? Contact you if they want to work with you.
Yes, to contact me if you want to work with me or just find out more information. My website is www.thedivorcesurvivalcoach.com, and you'll find me as the Divorce Survival Coach on Facebook, Instagram, on LinkedIn. I'm down under Arabella Paul, and I'm also on YouTube and TikTok as well. And I'm happy to have 30 minutes just chatting through how I may help you, and there's no strings attached to that.
Okay, perfect. How can people contact you?
My email address is info@thedivorcesurvivalcoach.com.
Okay.
But that's all on my website. My telephone number as well is on the website. You can DM me on Instagram, Facebook.
That's great. All great ways to connect with you. Perfect. Amazing. Okay, so is there any final advice? If you could give an advice to someone going through divorce, what would you tell them?
I think keeping a clear head as much as possible, trying not to panic, reaching out, even if you're not using a coach, reaching out to somebody pretty sensible and objective, a good friend, but not someone who's going to try and sway you one way or the other. And to keep, self-care is hugely important. I don't think I really touched on that, but exercise, eating well, sleeping well, these things fuel our body, and we need to be fighting fit for a divorce or separation. I mean, you don't have to be married to go through a bad breakup. But yeah, fighting fit and with the right people in your corner.
I love it. That's right. Thank you so much for sharing all your experience and expertise with our lovely audience. So you know how to contact Arabella if you are going through that situation, so you can make your best moves in the best way.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Hello and welcome to the Relationship Breakthrough Show from Aligned with Love. I'm Matt.
And I am Rebecca. This is the place for people to have a magical, loving, intimate relationship.
Thanks for joining us. Now let's get started.